And we are back with David Kortje and the unseen war. And now that we've established that we are in a battle, we are in a war, the next question is, how do we win this battle? What are some of the things we can do to prepare for it?
Yeah, it's great because you're right. We can't just walk in blindly. And so much we do that as Christians, I think. We get this idea that we get saved and then somehow we're supposed to just know what to do. And that's never the case. And so it's important that we train, first of all, that we have some experience with understanding what the battle is. When Paul tells us to dress for war, the first thing he tells us to do is put on the belt of truth. We need to know what's truth. And that's why I spend about the first third of the unseen war explaining who Satan is. I don't want to give him a bunch of glory, and I certainly don't want the book to be about Satan by any means. But I do think that we need to understand who our enemy is. Then I spend about the next third of the unseen war talking about who we are. Because we need to know who we are. We need to know that Jesus did something and changed something in us. And we are not the same people that we were before. Satan wants to convince us that we are. But we have something incredible in Christ. And then finally, in the last part of the book, then we look at, okay, so what does the battle look like? Let's be prepared for what we're going to experience. We're going to experience the wounds. We're going to experience people turning on us, and we're going to experience some victories too. How do we deal with that?
Right. What do you think is the biggest mistake Christians make when it comes to being in the war?
Yeah, you know, most of us really like a fight, if we're honest. Okay, get on the highway, guy cuts you off, and we are ready to, go for it. And so, getting in the battle isn't really so much the issue. What happens to most of us, I think, is that as the battle rages, we give up. We get tired. We get worn down, and we're tired of going on all the time. And so we resign. We finally say, okay, Satan, I'll back down if you back down. And that only has one loser. It's always us.
Right, so that's not the way to go.
But how do we find that perseverance within us? I imagine some of that has to come in communicating with God, but I think a lot of people will say, I really don't know how to do that. I have a prayer life and I communicate to God, but lots of people feel like they don't hear back.
Yes, it is, and I agree. It's challenging to hear from God. The thing that I always find interesting is that we take a group of men to Colorado every year, and we get up on the mountains and get away, shut off our cell phones, shut off all of the world around us, and men always remark, I'm so much closer to God up here. And it's not that we're physically closer to God.
I was going to say, they think they're closer because they're on the top of the mountain.
Right, because they're hearing God, and they're like, what's up with this? And what's happening is that they're tuning out the rest of the world for a change. All the other voices coming in. Jesus said, he said, my sheep hear my voice, and they follow me. He expected us to hear him. But we get so caught up in everything else. And if we're going to fight this battle, we need to fight like it's real. Secondly, Paul does. He gives us some armor to wear. Now, here's the deal with armor, I think. As you mentioned, I'm a physician. I work in a real safe area of South Wichita. If I were to call you up before I went to work and said, okay, Chuck, okay, Kelly, I need you to come with me. I want you to carry an M16 and put on some body armor and some Kevlar, and we're going to go to work. And you think, man, Kortje's just lost his mind, okay, just off the psycho ward. But if I were in Afghanistan, going to the front lines to take care of a man, of course I would expect people to come with me with body armor and to be prepared.
Right.
And so likewise, we tend to live our lives as Christians in this unseen war that we're in as if we're practicing medicine in South Wichita.
Right.
And we're not. We're in Afghanistan. We need comrades around us. We need to prepare for battle. We need to learn how to use the weapons that Christ has given us, how to pray effective prayers. Not these, now I lay me down to sleep prayers, but prayers where we come against the stuff that's coming against us and where we expect God to show up. We expect great things from a great God.
Right. No, I think part of the problem, too, is not necessarily getting tired, but getting wounded. Because, if I'm in a real war and I get wounded, I don't want to get back on the battlefield.
Yeah.
I'm afraid I'm going to get injured again.
Yeah.
So what do you do when you get spiritually wounded?
Well, we do. And we need to first of all just recognize it. Okay? I mean, for some reason, as something's happened, unfortunately, I think, to us in the Christian faith, in that we have gotten the impression that we shouldn't be wounded, that everything should just be happy, that we should just have this nice, great life. And so when we get wounded, or when we see someone else get wounded, okay, we suddenly just shut them down. Okay, they're not ready for battle, that they're not allowed in here any longer. Okay? But it happens. Okay, we made the mistake in America. Guys came back from Vietnam, we told them, what were you morons doing? And we understand now that battle is, part of the results of battle is wounds. Okay, and so we're going to experience those. We need to understand that. Okay, and there's different ways to approach wounds. Okay, some wounds, okay, are literally failings on our part. We made a mistake in the battle. We stood up when we should have sat down. Okay, so we learn from those. We learn how to duck better, how to avoid the sword. Some wounds come from the fact that someone else has turned on us, that they've abandoned us in a critical place in the battle. Okay, that happens. It hurts. But we have got to go on. The enemy would love to take us in those situations when we felt abandoned, when we felt like someone's turned their back on us, and say, okay, just give up. And when that happens, he's won. We can't let him win. We've got to stay the course.
So how do you not give up, real quick, for those that are watching that feel like they really have been in a very long and weary battle and feel like giving up? What are some of the tools that they can hang on to so they can get back on the battlefield?
Yeah, first of all, I would say it is imperative that you get among some other people, some other warriors that will fight for you, that will lift you up in battle. I have a group of men that just stand by me and that pray with me and that pray for me. We cannot do this unseen war alone. And then, secondly, you need to know your Lord. Okay? Not just know about him, not just go to Sunday school once a week, okay? But get to the point where you know him. Walk with Jesus. Walk closely with him in every part of our lives. It's all spiritual. We don't have the secular and the spiritual dividing line. Everything's spiritual. And so we need to walk with Jesus in all of that.
Right. Well, David, thank you so much for coming and being with us today.
Thank you so much.
If you'd like to learn more about David and the Unseen War, you can go onto our website, harvest-tv.com, click on Show Info in the menu bar, and you'll find an easy way to link to his website. Stay with us. We'll be right back.